Hello, it's Shauna. I'm passionate about pages. I'm really happy with this lovely Joyful Sunflower double page spread that I made. Cheated a little bit, did some copying, but that's okay. This video shares several really cool techniques that have been used on the page that you could apply in the design elements of many different scrapbooks. It's fine if you don't own this particular flower, you'll be able to adapt the technique to other flowers and other images. So sit back, enjoy, and please share what you make if this inspires you to get scrappy. Hello, it's Shauna and I'm passionate about pages. Today I want to share with you a really fun layout that I copied from our ideas book. I am loving this July-August ideas book from Close to My Heart. It's our mini catalogue, and I fell in love with this sunflower set of stamps, and the reason I fell in love with them was because of this layout. I just thought the way the artists had clustered this whole embellishment segment was just stunning, just beautiful. So I looked up the recipe index for this book, which you can find on my website, shaunarichards.closetomyheart.com.au. Go to the section, the More section, where you can view the catalogues, and one of the links will be for the recipe index, and that tells you what colours of different papers and inks have been used. And so then I just wrote them into my book in pencil. It doesn't, the recipe index doesn't give you the measurements, but by looking at that, I started by figuring out that those photos would be 4x4 photos, and I just kind of calculated the measurements from there. I will include those measurements, or maybe even just a photo of this page, in the comments of this post if you're interested in that. But those of you who know me know that I'm a double page girl. I don't really enjoy making random single pages in my album. And I have photos when we were in Canada we went for a beautiful drive one day out into the country, and there were sunflower fields, and we visited an artist's studio out there, and we've got some lovely photos. So that's my intention for this layout. So I expanded it into a double page layout. So first of all, let me talk you through how this segment is made. I'm just going to zoom in. Perfect. All right, so we start off using the stamps and thin cuts. So as you can see, anything shaded blue in the artwork means that there's a thin cut that goes with it. You can buy this set without the thin cuts, and then you would just fussy cut them yourself, but because it had this the railing, and these are quite intricate, I thought it was good value for money to buy the thin cuts, and I'm glad that I did. So and then in the book, the title, the summer title here, was cut on a Cricut, but I wanted to use the gorgeous classic alphabet thin cuts that I have in my stash. These thin cuts are the #1 favourite for my club hostesses at the moment as their half price item, because they're a bargain for half price. If you need to know how you can get yours half price, let me know, message me and I'll tell you. So I cut the word summer from the Sapphire cardstock, and then I cut the fence from Toffee, and with the flowers you want to cut one from Fern and one from Saffron. Okay, so I went through and I cut my sets of flowers, and then I positioned them roughly where they would go, using the photo in the book as a guide. Then these stamped bits come from the Strokes of an Artist stamp set. Okay, you could use watercolor paints if you're good at that. I'm not. That's why I buy the stamp set. So using Almond ink, this color swash here was stamped 3 times. This little puddle was stamped twice. And then this big splotch was stamped once up here. And you don't, so when you look closely at those, you'll see that they're not a solid stamp, and they're not meant to be. They are meant to have like a mottled look, because they are great to have in a background. And I mean, doesn't that make it look real, having that? And then these little strands of grass are on the stamp set too. Here, see? Little stamps with the grass on them. I loved that. So once I'd figured out where those things were going, then I was able to just lift things, do the stamping, and then stick everything down. I'll show you in a minute how I did the flowers. This one with the long stem, sorry, I'll take you out again. This one with the long stem, I just cut the stem here and repositioned it so that it looks like the stem goes all the way behind the letter R, but it doesn't. Then this green and this polka dot is from the mix-in paper pack that is out now. I put some Kraft cardstock behind it, and then these 2 little flags also come off the stamp set, which was pretty cool. And again, they have a textured finish. They're not meant to be really solid. Okay, so that was and then this is just a 1/2-inch strip off an old mix-ins pack, a 1/4-inch strip of the same colour cardstock as the flowers, Saffron, and then I used the Builder Plaid stamp set just to stamp the dots. Now, if you don't have that one, on the stamp set, they do have this little stamp with the line and the dots, but I struggled a little bit to line it up exactly, so that's why I pulled out one of my old my longer stamp sets. Now when we have a look at this one over here, the second page, it's pretty much the same kind of cluster, but I just made the Kraft section longer so that it would fit a 4x6 and a 3x4, and then I created a journal box, and that's where I used that little tiny stamp to make the outline for the journal box. Okay, so repeated the idea with the stamps for the mud, put in the fence, and I have one sunflower there, but I just thought I would quickly show you how I coloured the sunflower and pieced it together to put it over there. So all I used, I'll zoom you in, and I might even zoom you in again. How's that? Is that bright enough, I hope? So I used the tri-blend markers, and I went with earth brown and dull green. The earth brown, I started with the lightest one, and I only coloured on the yellow with this because I'm actually going to cover up the flower on the green one. So I went all over the centre. Then I went to the medium and I just dotted it, okay, because the sunflower has all those dots in it. Then I went to the dark and I dotted around the outside and then that central bit. And when that, I'll try and get that in focus for you. Sorry. There we go. When that dries, it just helps to pop the center of the flower out a little bit, okay? Then for the leaves, whilst they're stamped on Fern and that would be okay, I just thought I would emphasize the leaves a little bit. So I just used the medium and the dark from the dull green, and I just covered all over the leaf with the medium. I love it when you can go all over because you don't have to worry too much until you get to the edges of the shape. And so you see it just creates like a tone on tone effect. And then with the dark, I just went to the parts of the leaf where there was shading, and I drew over the shading. And what happens is that, you know, when you first colour it, that looks fairly stark, but as the ink dries, it becomes a little more subtle. And it just helps the leaves to stand out a little bit from the background. Now, all you have to do for the flowers is take your yellow one and snip off the flower. You do the same with this one. I'm not going to cut it while you're watching, because this one you have to go in and out, and you don't need to see me do that. You know how to cut. And all I did was stuck that straight over the top. Glue that down, and then you'll be able to tuck that in behind the fence. You can either have it so it's level with the edge, or you can leave a bit of a gap, and it will be finished. How fun is that? So this was actually quite a quick layout to put together, and I'm just so excited now, waiting for my photos to come back from the printer to put them on it. So go and have a good look through your catalogues. There is so much inspiration in there